scientists are warning of the next severe winter onset. The polar vortex is on the verge of collapse, and that could send us shivering back into the freezer very soon. What is the polar vortex all about, and why is its collapse so feared?
And could a permanent collapse even trigger an ice age? We're going to take a close look at this, so make sure to stick around until the end. A warm welcome to everyone.
Well, I like winter temperatures. Here you can see me happily posing at -10°C in Tromsø, Norway. Let me know in the comments whether you're more of a winter or summer person. I'd be very interested to hear your thoughts. So what is this mysterious polar vortex all about? Imagine a gigantic mass of ice-cold air rotating above the North Pole, a planetary refrigerator. This Arctic air mass is held together by extremely strong winds, the famous jet stream. It acts like an atmospheric wall, keeping the icy polar air exactly where it belongs, far away from us. But what happens when this wall suddenly collapses?
Winter is coming.
To understand what is happening above our heads, we need to take a closer look at the polar vortex. There are actually two of these gigantic air vortices, one at the North Pole and one at the South Pole, and each of them is divided into two layers. The tropospheric polar vortex, which extends from the surface to an altitude of about 10 to 15 kilometers, and the stratospheric polar vortex above it. These massive wind systems rotate with the Earth's rotation, reaching wind speeds of up to 240 kilometers per hour. That's equivalent to a Category 4 hurricane.
Normally, these cold air masses stay nicely in place at the pole. But sometimes a phenomenon called SSW occurs.
This stands for sudden stratospheric warming, and this is where it gets really extreme. The temperature in the stratosphere at the pole can rise by up to 50 degrees within a few days. This sudden warming disrupts the entire vortex, weakens it massively, and can even cause it to break down completely. When this happens, the atmospheric wall collapses and the Arctic cold air flows south like an icy tsunami, and that is exactly what we could be facing again right now. The polar vortex has already been pushed back to Siberia for the third time this winter. The first two times brought us early snow in November. Meteorologists are now observing the same pattern again. Around January 25th, there are signs of a new significant cooling, especially in northern regions. It could get significantly colder again as early as next week. A new winter phase is emerging between January 25th and February 8th. Of course, this should all be taken with a grain of salt, as forecasts are notoriously difficult, especially when they concern the future. In any case, such polar vortex collapses are not uncommon. They occur on average about 6 times per decade. In 2019, such a collapse led to temperatures of up to -50 degrees in parts of the US. The air was so cold that frostbite could occur within minutes. In the UK, the big freeze of 2009 to 2010 caused temperatures of -22 degrees. In Scotland, it tragically claimed 25 lives.
But now comes the really exciting question. Could a polar vortex collapse like this even lead to a new ice age?
To answer that, we need to take a look at the history of the Earth. Our Earth is currently in a warmer interglacial phase of a larger ice age known as the Holocene. The last major ice age reached its peak around 26,500 years ago and ended around 11,650 years ago. During this time, large parts of northern Europe and North America were buried under kilometers of ice. So we are already living in an ice age, just in a warmer phase of it.
Hey guys, just a quick request. YouTube is currently being flooded with quickly thrown together AI content, so-called AI slop. This isn't meant as general AI bashing, but it is making it harder for human creators to stay visible. This video here is not AI slop. It was researched, written, and produced by hand by several people who make their living from this. An editor, a video editor, a marketer, and myself. If content like this matters to you, your subscription helps us tremendously. Every subscription to the channel ensures that we can continue to put time and energy into real, carefully crafted videos. Thank you so much, everyone, and now let's continue.
The cycles between ice ages and warm periods are determined by various factors. The Milankovitch cycles, that is, changes in the Earth's axis and orbits, volcanic activity, solar activity, tectonic shifts, and changes in the atmosphere. But climate patterns such as the polar vortex also play an important role. Some scientists actually suspect a connection between the polar vortex and past ice ages. Another important component is the Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation, or AMOC for short. This complex network of ocean currents transports heat from warmer to cooler regions and has an enormous influence on the climate. The AMOC is extremely sensitive to the inflow of fresh water from melting ice. When the AMOC is strong, it brings warm water to the North Atlantic and ensures a more temperate climate in Europe and North America. A weakened AMOC, on the other hand, means less heat in the North Atlantic and thus colder and drier conditions in our part of the world. But don't panic. Most experts clearly state that the polar vortex alone cannot trigger an ice age. It is a short-term phenomenon compared to the long cycles of ice ages. The polar vortex is just one of many factors that influence our climate. The Milankovitch cycles, for example, are much more powerful. And to clear up an important misunderstanding, the polar vortex is not a new development, but a long-established feature of the winter climate in the northern hemisphere. What is new, however, is that the Arctic is warming faster than the rest of the Earth. This reduces the temperature difference between high and mid latitudes, and this difference is crucial for a stable jet stream and a strong polar vortex. Many studies suggest that this makes the atmospheric system more susceptible to disturbances, leading to an apparent contradiction. While the global average temperature is rising, extreme cold spells can still occur regionally. If the jet stream were to disappear completely one day, the polar vortex would come to us permanently, and we would truly experience what it is like to live in Arctic conditions.
Then maybe I should start putting on my warming fat reserves again. But seriously, these polar vortex disturbances have very practical effects on our lives.
In the past, these have led to serious infrastructure problems, from power outages and water shortages to traffic chaos. In Texas, the onset of winter in 2021 led to an almost complete collapse of the power grid. I find it almost awe-inspiring how all these forces interact, a cosmic ballet of wind, water, and ice that has been shaping our planet for millions of years. At the same time, it shows how fragile the balance in which we live is. A small crack in the polar vortex and we are threatened with a cold snap. So if you find yourself freezing again in the next few weeks, you now know who to blame: the polar vortex.
And if you always want to be instantly informed about such fascinating weather phenomena, subscribe to the channel now, and don't forget to give us a thumbs up so we can reach 5,000 likes. And speaking of icy worlds, scientists have a spectacular suspicion regarding the mysterious Planet 9.
They think this mysterious celestial body far beyond Neptune could be a kind of second Earth, an icy terrestrial planet in the dark outer reaches of the solar system. You can find out what this is all about and what the chances are of finally finding this planet in the video above right. As always, there's another video about science and space below right. Otherwise, I'd say see you in the next video and dress warmly, folks.